FDA to return his untainted tryptophan, the FDA will have trouble explaining its continuing ban. Now, only days after Dr. Wright filed suit against the FDA began an intense investigation of Dr. Wright. The investigation consisted of FDA agent Spencer Morrison and other agents going to the clinic at night and sifting through the trash bins outside the building because he had dared to file suit against the FDA. How dare he do that? During this dumpster inspection, this reminds me of Peter Sellers for some reason, out in the middle of the night tripping over boxes and trash cans trying to find some evidence against the super spy from the evil empire. Only this is a dumpster outside of a little medical clinic in Kent, Washington, whose doctor had filed suit against the all-powerful FDA. Something tells me when this story gets out, they're not going to be so all-powerful anymore. If my feeling about how Americans are going to feel about this is right, and I believe that it is, I believe they will be outraged. Outraged, as they should. So during this dumpster inspection, FDA agents found empty vials of B-complex and B12 vitamins from Germany, as well as other nutritional agents, none of which were illegal, and no drugs of any kind, legal or illegal, were found. These were natural nutritional supplements that you probably have in your own home at this very moment. The only thing different about them is that the B12 and B-complex vitamins from Germany are purer than most of the available B-complex and B12 vitamins available in this country. And thus we're safer, and are safer, and will continue to be safer. An affidavit prepared by Spencer Morrison led to a warrant signed by Judge John Weinberg authorizing the search and seizure. But was a raid necessary? Was a raid necessary? Armed police officers and FDA agents wearing flak jackets and carrying guns, breaking down doors only 10 minutes before the clinic was to open? Herding innocent employees into a room and surrounding them with gun-toting, vicious stormtroopers? Causing one employee to go into cardiac arrhythmia, from which she has not recovered to this day? Another very young new employee having recurrent nightmares to this day? All of them terrorized? Was this necessary? Hardly. Of course not. Not necessary at all. If the FDA was concerned about Dr. Wright's German-made nutritional products, they could have walked in and asked. He certainly didn't keep it a secret. The Germans, dear listeners, are the only ones who make a preservative-free B-complex and B12 vitamin for injection. Many of Dr. Wright's patients have allergic reactions to the American products, all of which contain preservatives. Hence, he imports preservative-free, pure, preservative-free nutrients. This vicious, and I mean vicious, raid by FDA agents will forever be known as the Great B Vitamin Bust. And who in the world ever made the FDA a police force? When did the FDA obtained the right to wear flak jackets and carry guns and break down doors. That is a function of law enforcement agencies, isn't it? Public outrage, dear listeners, was swift and uncompromising. On May 11th, the Seattle Post-Intelligencer, the largest newspaper in the northwest of the United States, ran an editorial which read, quote, "If there is any plausible excuse for the Gestapo-like tactics used in a raid on a Kent alternative medicine clinic last week, it had better be forthcoming, and fast. Were armed terrorists believed to be getting vitamin shots in the clinic? Were naturopathic revolutionaries plotting the violent overthrow of the American Medical Association's National Convention? Were crack and methamphetamine laboratories believed to be bubbling away in the back room? No. No, no, and no." The Journal-American, another prominent newspaper in the area, wrote this, quote, "Pistol-toting agents in the United States Food and Drug Administration team acted like they expected armed opposition from frightened clinic employees. The conduct of the raid was more in keeping with SWAT team for known crack cocaine dealers. An absurd overkill for the purpose of seizing dietary supplements, patient records, and some clinic equipment." They seized patient records. Could be your records if you live in that area. Unquote. Several months before the raid, FDA agent Victor Mio from Seattle, Washington, posed as a patient under an assumed name and received treatment at the clinic. Victor Mio described the medical treatment he received in the affidavit presented to Judge Weinberg. Mio was carefully evaluated by Dr. Wright, who, not knowing that Mio was lying about his symptoms, outlined a testing and treatment program designed to help him. He was treated in a professional and competent manner by all those who attended him, including Patty Hoops, who performed allergy testing on Agent Mio, and Marge Murphy and Jennifer Harrell, who rendered him service each time he came to the offices. He knew that they were employees. He knew that none of them carried guns. He knew that there were no weapons in the clinic. He knew all of these things, for he had been spying on them for quite some time. One thing should have been obvious to Victor Mio. This was an established medical clinic staffed by trained and licensed healthcare providers dispensing medical services. No one was armed or engaged in any clandestine activities whatsoever. Victor Mio returned to these offices as part of the pumped-up terrorist group of FBI stormtroopers to terrorize the very people who had tried to help him, leaving many of them with psychological scars which will probably be with them for the rest of their lives. Television news crews flocked to the clinic when word got out that a doctor was being raided by armed FDA agents. Victor Mio was filmed carrying out some of Dr. Wright's equipment. Knowing that he was on film, Victor Mio gives the finger to all who might be watching him engaged in public service. Where, dear listeners, does the FDA or any other government agency find such despicable employees? Well, apparently there's a lot of them, because this is nothing new. But for once, the whole nation is going to hear about it, which usually never happens. And if you want to continue to have available vitamins and minerals and other natural, naturopathic health food supplements and natural treatments for whatever ails you, and you should have the right to that, you had better do something about this. You'd better get angry, as I know some of you listening already are. It's another intrusion upon the privacy of every American citizen. It is another step toward the police state. It is another step into the New World Order. This FDA raid was not to halt any criminal activity, but to investigate possible regulatory infractions. Rather than walking into the clinic and asking to see the B vitamins, the FDA went to the King County Police and asked for armed support for a raid. But this time, the raid wasn't going after the cockroaches. The cockroaches were performing the raid. The medical clinic had been in business for close to 20 years and had never been suspected of any criminal activity ever. Had never had any complaints to any government agency whatsoever in its history. However, when asked by the FDA for a dozen or so armed police, Lieutenant Robin Fulton of the King County Police simply said okay without checking the purpose, without looking for charges, without asking any questions. This little gung-ho, first-in-line SS officer for the King County Police simply said okay. And it's a she, probably so eager to be one of the boys she couldn't wait.
No, nothing takes it off like Noxema medicated tea. Take it off. Take it all off. Nothing takes it off like Noxema medicated tea. How closer you shake, the more you need Noxema. Noxema medicated shave.
Oh, I just couldn't help it, folks. Now it's time to talk about my favorite subject. You know, this show is brought to you by the Citizens Agency for Joint Intelligence. My own intelligence organization. In fact, it's the largest and most prestigious civilian intelligence organization in the world. Nobody has one larger, and nobody does it better. Most of the information that you hear on this show and read in our newsletter and see on my videotapes and hear in my lectures comes from my research, combined with the input of our intelligence operatives in this country and all over the world. It's known as the Citizens Agency for Joint Intelligence, CAJI. And you too could be a member. Send $45, that's your membership fee, $45, to William Cooper, Post Office Box 3299, Camp Verde, Arizona, 86322. That's Post Office Box 3299, Camp Verde, Arizona, 86322. Or you can just write to us and ask us for more information and what's it all about and what do you get for your $45. Or you can call Stan and talk to him on the phone anytime during normal waking hours at 602-567-6109. That's 602-567-6109. Now, folks, stand by. Don't go anywhere. We're going to take a short break. We will be right back. Welcome back, folks. I'm going to give you a little glimpse into the future here. Well, you've had time to listen to several episodes of the Hour of the Time so far, folks. What do you think about it? You know, we cannot stay on the air without your help. And the reason I ask you what you think about it is because I firmly believe that this